The distress signal came from the darkness between stars. Captain Tae-ho stood on the bridge of the horizon and watched the blinking light on the screen. His ship was not built for rescue missions. It was Earth's first diplomatic vessel, sent to explore the unknown regions of space. But Tae-ho was not the kind of man who ignored a cry for help. "What do we know?" he asked. Lieutenant Yuna worked at her console. Her fingers moved fast across the controls. Unknown ship design. Alien origin. Life signs are weak, but present. They are dying, Captain. Tae-ho did not hesitate. "Take us in." The horizon changed course. The crew moved with purpose. They had trained for many things, but first contact with alien life was something they had only imagined. Now it was happening, and nobody knew what to expect. Engineer Woo-jin prepared the rescue shuttle. Sergeant Hana gathered her security team. Dr. Sung-jin, the ship's xenobiologist, could barely contain his excitement. He had spent his entire life dreaming of this moment. The damaged alien vessel drifted like a dead thing in the void. Parts of its hull were torn open. Strange gases leaked from cracks in its armor. The horizon pulled alongside, and Hana led her team through the breach. Inside, they found bodies. Some were dead. Some were barely alive. The aliens looked like large birds, with feathers of blue and silver. Their eyes were huge and placed on the sides of their heads. They made soft clicking sounds as Hana's team carried them to safety. One of the survivors was different from the others. She was a scholar named Mivith, and she was the first to wake up in the horizon's medical bay. When she opened her eyes and saw Dr. Sung-jin standing over her, she screamed. The sound was terrible. It was the sound of pure fear. Mivith pressed herself against the wall and would not stop screaming until Sung-jin backed away to the far side of the room. "What did I do wrong?" Sung-jin asked. He was confused and hurt. He had only wanted to help. Captain Tae-ho arrived quickly. He found Mivith shaking in the corner, her feathers pressed flat against her body. When she looked at him, her huge eyes filled with terror. "Your eyes," she whispered. "They face forward. You are hunters. You are predators." Tae-ho did not understand. He tried to speak calmly. He explained that his crew had saved her life. He told her that humans came in peace. But Mivith only shook her head. "You do not understand," she said. "The council will come. They will not let predators roam free among the stars." She was right. Within hours, the Galactic Council knew about the rescue. Mivith had sent a message before the humans could stop her. She had warned them about the monsters she had found. The council was made of many species. They were herbivores and scavengers, prey animals who had built a civilization among the stars. Millions of years ago, they had driven the predator species to extinction. They believed the galaxy was finally safe. Then, humans appeared. High Arbiter Velos led the council. He was tall and thin, with a body like an insect and eyes like black glass. When he saw the images of humans, he felt something he had not felt in centuries. He felt afraid. "Look at them," he said to Ambassador Krell, a reptilian diplomat who stood beside him. Forward-facing eyes for tracking prey. Teeth, designed for tearing flesh. They sweat to cool their bodies during long chases. These creatures are persistence hunters. They are the most dangerous kind. Krell nodded slowly. "What do we do?" "Ah, we use the weapon," Velos said. "The same weapon we have used on every predator species we have ever found. It worked before. It will work again." The council fleet arrived at the Horizon's location within 2 days. 47 warships surrounded the small human vessel. Tae-ho tried to open communications. He tried to explain that his people wanted only peace. But Velos refused to listen. "You are predators," Velos said through the communication channel. "Your kind cannot be trusted. Your instincts will always drive you to hunt, to kill, to dominate. We will not allow this. We have done nothing wrong. Teho replied. His voice was steady, but inside he felt anger growing. We saved your people. We asked for nothing in return. Your nature is wrong, Velos said. That is enough. The council fleet fired their weapon. It was not a laser or a missile. It was something far more terrible. The weapon sent invisible waves through space, waves that passed through the Horizon's hull and into the brains of every human on board. On the bridge, Yuna gasped and grabbed her console. Woojin fell to his knees. Hana reached for her weapon but found her hands shaking too much to hold it. Teho felt something twist inside his mind, something deep and old and powerful. The weapon was designed to destroy the mental barriers that civilized predators built around their instincts. It was supposed to turn them into mindless beasts, easy to control or destroy. The Council had used it many times before. It had always worked. But humans were different. The shaking stopped. The pain faded. Yuna stood up slowly. Her eyes were clear, clearer than they had ever been. The fear that had lived in the back of her mind for her entire life was gone. The doubt, the hesitation, the constant second-guessing, all of it had vanished. She looked at the tactical display. 47 enemy ships surrounded them. And for the first time in her life, Yuna did not see threats. She saw prey. Across the ship, the same change happened to every human. Hana stopped shaking. Her hands became steady. Woojin rose to his feet with a strange smile on his face. Doctor. Sungjin looked at his own hands, as if seeing them for the first time. Captain Teho stood in the center of the bridge. The anger he had felt before was gone. In its place was something colder, something sharper. The Council had tried to turn them into animals. Instead, they had removed the chains that humanity had spent 10,000 years building. They had awakened something ancient, something patient, something hungry, and it was very, very awake. The bridge of the horizon was silent. Every crew member stood perfectly still, feeling the change that had happened inside their minds. It was like waking up from a dream they had been living their entire lives. The world looked different now. It looked simpler. Lieutenant Yuna was the first to speak. I can see it now, she said quietly. I can see everything clearly. Captain Teho understood what she meant. For as long as humans had built civilizations, they had taught themselves to hold back. They had learned to be patient, to be kind, to think before acting. These were good things. They were necessary things. But they were also chains, beautiful chains, that humans had wrapped around their own instincts. The Council's weapon had broken those chains. How do you feel? Teho asked his crew. Sergeant Hana checked her weapon. Her movements were smooth and precise, like water flowing over rocks. I feel calm, she said. Completely calm. I am not afraid of them anymore. Dr. Sungjin was studying his own vital signs on a medical scanner. Our heart rates are slower than normal, he reported. Stress hormones are nearly absent. This is fascinating. The weapon was supposed to make us lose control. Instead, it gave us more control than we have ever had. Engineer Woojin laughed softly. It was not a happy laugh. They made a mistake, he said. A very big mistake. Outside the ship, the Council fleet waited. High Arbiter Velos watched the horizon through his viewing screen. He expected to see chaos by now. Every other predator species had reacted the same way to the weapon. They had become violent, attacking everything around them, destroying themselves from within. But the human ship was quiet. Its lights still glowed steadily. Its engines remained stable. Nothing was happening. Why are they not fighting each other? Ambassador Krell asked nervously. The weapon always works. They should be tearing each other apart by now. Velos felt a cold sensation in his chest. It was fear, and it was growing stronger. Open a channel to them, he commanded. I want to see what is happening inside that ship. The screen flickered. Captain Teho's face appeared. He looked different than before. His eyes were steady and focused. His expression was completely calm. There was no anger in his face. No fear, no desperation. There was only patience. "High Arbiter," Teho said. His voice was soft, almost gentle. "Your weapon did not work the way you expected." Velos tried to hide his fear. "What do you mean? What has happened to you?" Teho smiled. It was a small smile, and it did not reach his eyes. "Humans are predators," you said. "You were right, but you do not understand what that means. For 10,000 years, we have taught ourselves to control our instincts. We built laws and societies and moral codes. We learned to be gentle because we knew how dangerous we could be." He paused. The silence stretched across the void of space. "Your weapon removed all of that," Teho continued. "You did not awaken a beast, Arbiter. You awakened a hunter who no longer feels the need to hold back." Velos ended the transmission. His hands were shaking. He turned to his advisors, his voice rising with panic. "Destroy them! Destroy them now!" But before he could give the order, Scholar Miveth appeared on the bridge. She had escaped from her quarters on the horizon and returned to her own people. Her feathers were still pressed flat with fear, but she forced herself to speak. "You cannot destroy them," she said. "I have studied them. I have watched them. When they rescued me, they were careful with my injured crew. They treated our wounds. They spoke softly to calm us. These are not mindless killers. They are predators," Krell spat. "They cannot be trusted. They are predators who chose to be kind." Miveth replied, "Do you understand how terrifying that is? A beast that kills without thought is dangerous. Yes, but a hunter who has the power to kill and chooses not to? That is something far more powerful." Velos shook his head. "It does not matter what they choose. Their nature will always be there, waiting. We cannot allow them to exist." Miveth looked at him with sad eyes. "Then you have already lost," she said. "Because you are not fighting animals. You are fighting thinking creatures who have spent their entire history learning to defeat enemies stronger than themselves." Back on the horizon, Captain Teho gathered his crew. They stood around the central table, looking at the tactical display. 47 ships surrounded them. They had no weapons, no armor, no military training for space combat. By all logic, they should have been terrified, but none of them felt afraid. "They will attack soon," Yuna said. "Their formations are changing. They are preparing to fire." "Then we need to act first," Hana replied. Her eyes moved across the display, studying each enemy ship. "We cannot fight them directly, but we do not need to. Predators do not win by being stronger. They win by being smarter." Teho nodded slowly. "What do you suggest?" Hana pointed to the Council flagship. "Cut off the head. Without their leader, the rest will scatter. They are prey animals. They need someone to follow." Wu Jin stepped forward. "I can modify our systems. The mining equipment can become weapons. The communication arrays can jam their signals. It will take time, but it is possible." "How much time?" Teho asked. 12 hours. Maybe less if everyone helps." Teho looked at his crew. These were scientists, diplomats, and engineers. They had never fought a war before, but he could see the change in their eyes. The old fear was gone. The old hesitation had vanished. They were ready. "Then we have work to do," he said. "Yuna, keep them distracted. Make them think we are negotiating. Sungjin, contact Miveth. She helped us before. Perhaps she will help us again. Hana, prepare your team. When the time comes, you will lead the hunt." Hana smiled. It was the smile of a wolf who had just spotted a rabbit. "They called us predators," she said quietly. "Let us show them what that word really means." The crew moved to their stations. The countdown had begun. The council did not know it yet, But they had just made the worst mistake in the history of their civilization. They had awakened something ancient, and it was hungry. The hours passed slowly. On the bridge of the Council flagship Eternal Accord, High Arbiter Velos grew more anxious with each passing minute. The humans had requested time to negotiate. Against his better judgment, he had agreed. Now he watched the small Earth vessel floating peacefully among his warships, and he wondered if he had made a terrible mistake. "They are planning something," Ambassador Krell said. He stood beside Velos, his reptilian eyes fixed on the viewing screen. "We should destroy them now, while we still can." "And start a war with an unknown species?" Velos replied. "We know nothing about Earth. We do not know how many of them exist, or what weapons they possess. If we destroy this ship without cause, we may invite a larger conflict. They are predators." "That is cause enough." Velos did not answer. Deep inside, he felt that Krell was right, but something held him back. He told himself it was wisdom, caution, the duty of a leader to think before acting. But the truth was simpler than that. He was afraid. On the horizon, the crew worked through the night. Engineer Woojin had torn apart 3 mining drones and reassembled their parts into something new. The cutting lasers were now weapons. The ore scanners could detect life signs through ship hulls. The communication array had been turned into a jamming device, powerful enough to blind the entire Council fleet. "It is not pretty," Woojin admitted, showing his work to Captain Teho. "But it will function. 1 shot, maybe 2, from each weapon before they burn out." "1 shot may be all we need," Teho replied. Across the ship, Sergeant Hana trained her small team. There were only 6 of them, security officers who had never expected to see real combat. But the change had affected them too. They moved differently now, with a grace and confidence that came from somewhere deep inside their bones. Fear had been their enemy for so long. Without it, they discovered abilities they never knew they had. "We will use the rescue shuttle," Hana explained, drawing diagrams on a screen. "The same shuttle we used to save the aliens. We will drift toward the flagship using only passive thrust. No engines, no signals, nothing for them to detect. We will approach as debris." "And then?" asked one of her team members. Hana's eyes grew cold. "Then we board their ship. We move fast and quiet. We disable their systems. We reach their bridge. And we end this before it truly begins." Lieutenant Yuna kept the Council fleet distracted. She opened communication channels and spoke in calm, reasonable tones. She asked about their culture, their history, their reasons for fearing predators. The Council officers were confused by her patience. They had expected threats, demands, perhaps begging for mercy. Instead, they found a woman who seemed genuinely interested in understanding them. "Why do you hate us so much?" Yuna asked High Arbiter Velos during one transmission. "We have done nothing to harm you. We saved your people when they were dying." Velos hesitated before answering. "It is not about what you have done. It is about what you are, what you will inevitably become." "And what is that?" "Conquerors, killers. That is the nature of predators. You cannot fight your own biology." Yuna smiled gently. "Perhaps. Or perhaps we have spent 10,000 years proving that we can." While Yuna talked, Dr. Sung Jin worked on his own mission. He had managed to establish a secret communication link with Scholar Mivith aboard the Council flagship. Mivith was terrified, but she was also curious. She was a scientist above all else, and the humans fascinated her in ways she could not explain. "You are different from other predators we have encountered," Mivith said through the hidden channel. "The others became violent immediately after the weapon struck them. They lost their minds. The differently, Badr come and see. But you became more focused, more controlled. I do not understand how this is possible." Sung Jin nodded thoughtfully. "Humans evolved differently. Our ancestors were not the strongest predators on our planet. We were not the fastest or the deadliest. We survived by thinking, by planning, by working together. Our predator instinct is not about rage. It is about patience and strategy. That makes you far more dangerous than any mindless beast. Yes, Sung Jin agreed. It does. Mivith fell silent for a long moment. Then she spoke again, her voice barely a whisper. What are you planning? I know you are planning something. I can feel it. If I told you, would you warn your fleet? Mivith considered the question. I do not know, she admitted. I should. It is my duty. But I cannot forget that you saved my life. You treated my wounds. You were kind when you had no reason to be. Sung Jin leaned closer to the screen. Then trust us a little longer. We do not want war. We never wanted war. But we will not let ourselves be destroyed for the crime of existing. The hours continued to pass. The council fleet grew restless. Velos paced the bridge of his flagship, watching the clock count down to his deadline. When the 12 hours ended, he would have no choice. He would give the order to attack. In the cargo bay of the Horizon, Sergeant Hana gathered her team. They checked their weapons one final time. Their faces were calm, their movements precise. There was no excitement, no nervousness, no fear. There was only focus. Remember, Hana said quietly, we are not killers. We are hunters. There is a difference. Killers destroy without thought. Hunters act with purpose. Every move we make tonight will have a reason. We do not waste energy. We do not make noise. We do not leave witnesses until the mission is complete. Her team nodded. They understood. The shuttle bay doors opened silently. The small craft drifted out into the darkness of space, its engines cold, its systems barely powered. To any observer, it looked like a piece of floating debris, nothing more than junk from the earlier rescue mission. Slowly, carefully, it began to drift toward the Council flagship. On the bridge of the Horizon, Yuna watched the shuttle's progress on her hidden display. She continued her conversation with Velos, keeping his attention fixed on her words. Her voice remained calm and pleasant, but inside, something ancient stirred. The hunt had begun, and the prey did not even know they were being stalked. The 12 hours ended at midnight, ship time. High Arbiter Velos stood on the bridge of the Eternal Accord and prepared to give the order that would destroy the human vessel. His hands trembled slightly, but his voice was steady. All ships, prepare to fire on my command. The Council fleet powered their weapons. 47 warships aimed at one small diplomatic vessel. It was overwhelming force. It was certain death for the humans, or so Velos believed. Fire, he commanded. The weapons discharged. Brilliant beams of energy lanced across the void, converging on the spot where the horizon floated. The light was blinding. The power was immense. When it faded, there should have been nothing left but dust. But the horizon was gone. Where are they? Velos demanded. His voice rose with panic. Find them. On the bridge of the Horizon, Lieutenant Yuna allowed herself a small smile. During the long hours of negotiation, Engineer Wu Jin had made tiny adjustments to the ship's position, small bursts of thrust, so gentle that the Council sensors could not detect them. The Horizon had drifted slowly into a gap in the fleet's formation, hiding behind the bulk of two larger vessels. They cannot see us, Yuna reported. Their own ships are blocking their sensors. Captain Taeho nodded. Begin the attack. Wu Jin activated the modified communication array. A wave of electronic noise washed over the Council fleet, jamming their signals, cutting each ship off from the others. Captains tried to contact their flagship. Their calls went unanswered. They tried to coordinate with their neighbors. They heard only static. The Council fleet fell into chaos. These were prey animals, species who had evolved to survive by staying together, by following the herd, by trusting their leaders. Without communication, they panicked. Some ships began to fire blindly into space. Others tried to flee. Two vessels collided in their confusion, their hulls cracking against each other. Yuna watched the destruction with cold satisfaction. "They are separating," she said. "Just like prey. Do not kill unless you must," Teho reminded her. "We are not butchers." The horizon moved through the chaos like a ghost. Its mining lasers fired precise shots, disabling engines and weapon systems without destroying ships entirely. Council vessels drifted helplessly, their crews screaming into silent communicators. They had never faced anything like this. They had never been hunted. Meanwhile, Sergeant Hana's shuttle had reached the Eternal Accord. Her team attached to the flagship's hull without making a sound. They cut through an airlock and entered the ship. Inside, the corridors were bright and clean. The air smelled strange, like flowers and chemicals mixed together. Council crew members ran past, too panicked to notice the shadows moving behind them. Hana and her team advanced through the ship like water flowing through cracks in stone. They encountered guards. The guards were tall and heavily armed, but they had never fought predators before. They expected their enemies to charge at them with rage and noise. Instead, Hana's team moved silently, striking from angles they never expected, disappearing before they could react. "Do not kill them," Hana whispered to her people. Her team obeyed. Guards fell unconscious, their weapons taken, their bodies hidden in storage rooms. The humans moved deeper into the ship. On the bridge, Velos screamed orders that no one could hear. His fleet was falling apart. 20 ships had stopped responding. 15 more were drifting without power. The rest were scattered across space, running from an enemy they could not see. "How is this happening?" Ambassador Krell demanded. "They are one ship. One small ship. Against 47. They are predators," Velos whispered. His voice had lost all its strength. "Real predators. We should have listened. We should have understood." The bridge doors exploded inward. Sergeant Hana stepped through the smoke, her weapon raised. Behind her came her team, spreading across the room, covering every exit. The council officers froze in place. They had never seen anything so terrifying. The human woman moved like something from their oldest nightmares, smooth and silent, and utterly without fear. "High Arbiter Velos," Hana said calmly. "Please order your fleet to stand down." Velos stared at her. His body would not stop shaking. His great black eyes reflected her image back at him, and he saw what his ancestors had feared for millions of years. A predator, a hunter, an apex creature that had no natural enemies. "You cannot win," he said weakly. "Even if you destroy my fleet, more will come. The entire council will hunt you down." Hana walked closer to him. She did not threaten. She did not shout. She simply looked at him with eyes that held no anger, no hatred, only calm certainty. "We do not want to win," she said. "We want to live. We want peace. But you attacked us for existing. You tried to turn us into monsters. Now you will learn what humans really are." She gestured toward the viewing screen. Outside, the council fleet was in ruins. Ships drifted powerlessly. Escape pods launched into the void. The horizon moved among them. Not finishing them off, just watching. "We could have destroyed every ship," Hana continued. "We could have killed every crew member. That is what monsters do. But we chose not to. That is what humans do. We have the instincts of predators, yes. But we also have something else. Something your weapon could not take away." "What is that?" Velos asked. "Choice," Hana replied. "We choose who we want to be. And we choose not to be your enemy. Unless you force us." She handed him a communication device. "Call your fleet. Tell them to stop fighting. Tell them the war is over." Velos took the device with trembling hands. He looked at the woman standing before him. He looked at the destruction outside his window. He thought of all the stories his people had told about predators, about the ancient monsters who had hunted them before civilization began. Those stories were true. Every terrible thing they believed about predators was true. But there was something else. Something the stories never mentioned. Predators could be merciful. Slowly, Velos raised the device to his mouth and began to speak. The battle ended not with fire, but with silence. High Arbiter Velos broadcast the ceasefire order across all channels. One by one, the surviving council ships stopped running. They powered down their weapons. They waited for instructions that no longer came from panic, but from acceptance. 23 vessels had surrendered completely. 14 drifted without power, their crews safe but helpless. 10 had been destroyed, but only after their captains had tried to ram the horizon in desperate suicide attacks. Even then, Yuna had aimed for their engines first, giving their crews time to escape before the final explosions. Captain Teho boarded the Eternal Accord through the hole Hana's team had cut in the hull. He walked through corridors filled with unconscious guards and terrified officers. When he reached the bridge, he found Velos sitting in his command chair, staring at nothing. The High Arbiter looked up when Teho entered. His great black eyes were empty of hope. "You have won," he said quietly. "What happens now? Will you conquer us? Enslave us? That is what predators do." Teho sat down across from him. He did not smile. He did not gloat. He simply looked at Velos with the same calm patience he had shown throughout this entire ordeal. "We want nothing from you," Teho said. "We did not ask for this fight. We came to explore, to learn, to meet new life. You attacked us because of what we are. You tried to destroy our minds. You failed. Your weapon," Velos whispered. "It did something to you, something we did not expect." "Yes," Teho agreed. "It removed our restraint. But you misunderstood what that means. For your people, civilization is about avoiding danger, staying safe, following the herd. For us, civilization is about controlling ourselves. We are not dangerous because we lack control. We are dangerous because we have so much power to control." Dr. Sung Jin entered the bridge with Scholar Mivith beside him. The avian researcher looked around at the silent officers, at the humans standing among them, at the viewing screen showing the defeated fleet. Her feathers slowly rose from their fear-flattened position. "I told them," she said to Velos. "I tried to explain. They are not like the other predators. They think. They plan. They choose." Velos closed his eyes. "I know that now. I know it too late." Teho stood and walked to the viewing screen. Outside, the stars burned cold and eternal. So many worlds out there. So many species. So many possibilities. "Here is what will happen," Teho said. His voice was soft but carried the weight of absolute certainty. "Humanity will join the Galactic Council. Not as servants, not as rulers, but as equal partners. You will destroy the weapon you used against us. You will never use it against another species again." "And if we refuse?" Krell asked. The reptilian ambassador had been silent until now, watching the humans with growing fear. Teho turned to look at him. There was no threat in his eyes, no anger, just simple truth. "You saw what one ship could do against 47. Earth has thousands of ships, billions of people. If you make us your enemies, you will learn what humans are truly capable of, and you will not survive the lesson." Silence filled the bridge. Every council officer understood. This was not a threat. It was a promise. And they believed it completely. 6 months passed. The galaxy changed in ways that no one had predicted. Humanity joined the Galactic Council, bringing with them new ideas, new technologies, and a new way of thinking. Other predator species, long suppressed and controlled by the Council's weapons, emerged from hiding. They had heard what the humans had done. They wanted the same freedom. Sergeant Hana became the head of a new peacekeeping force, made up of humans and reformed Council species working together. They did not conquer worlds. They protected them, They became the guardians that the galaxy had never had. Engineer Wu Jin led a team of scientists studying the neurological weapon. They found a way to reverse its effects, to restore the restraint that the Council had stripped away. But most humans who had been changed refused the cure. They preferred the clarity. They preferred the control. Lieutenant Yuna returned to Earth as a hero. She spoke before the United Assembly about what had happened, about what humanity had become. When asked if she missed the old fear, the old hesitation, she shook her head. "We were always predators," she said. "We just pretended otherwise. Now we are honest about what we are. And that honesty makes us better, not worse." Scholar Miveth published her research under the title, "The Human Paradox: Apex Predators Who Choose Peace." It became the most important scientific work in galactic history. Species across the stars read it and began to question everything they had believed about predators and prey, about nature and civilization, about what it truly meant to be intelligent. Dr. Sung Jin stayed with the Council, serving as humanity's ambassador. He spent his days talking with alien scholars, sharing human history, explaining how his species had learned to control their darker instincts. "It was not easy," he would say. "It took thousands of years and countless wars. But we learned, and we are still learning." Captain Taeho returned to the horizon and continued exploring. There were still unknown regions of space, still mysteries waiting to be discovered. He had been changed by what happened, changed in ways he was still trying to understand, but he did not regret it. One night, he stood alone on the bridge, watching the stars pass by. Lieutenant Yuna found him there, silent and thoughtful. "Do you ever wonder if they were right?" she asked. "About predators? About us?" Taeho nodded slowly. "Sometimes. We are dangerous. That much is true. But being dangerous is not the same as being evil. A knife can kill, but it can also cut bread. Fire can burn down forests, but it can also keep families warm. What matters is not what we are capable of. What matters is what we choose to do." Yuna stood beside him, looking at the infinite darkness ahead. "And what do we choose?" Taeho smiled. For the first time since the weapon had changed him, the smile reached his eyes. It was warm. It was human. "We choose to be the protectors," he said. "We choose to be the guardians. We choose to be the predators who hunt other predators, who defend the weak, who stand between the darkness and those who cannot stand for themselves." The stars burned on. The horizon flew forward, and humanity took its first steps toward a future that no one had imagined. They were predators. They would always be predators. But they were also something more. They were human, and that made all the difference.